What's going on, everyone? My name is Andrew Palacios, and welcome back to another recording of the Drew Cali Podcast. I'd like to take this time to welcome you back. Welcome back. Warm welcome. It's been a while since I recorded my last podcast, Normality. Thank you for all the people who listened to it and enjoyed it and perhaps got some value from it. It's been a while, right? Perhaps 3, 4, 5 months. I don't quite remember, but I know that I'm here now. I'm revamping this brand, this idea, and only it's not this new podcast. This new podcast actually, it's not going to be called the Drew Cali Podcast. It's going to be called Drew Cali's Philosophy. Yes, you guessed it. This new podcast is going to be concerned centrally around philosophy, but more accurately, it's an attempt to bring forth as much value to my listeners as possible in the form of bite-sized, usable, and interesting episodes centered around getting people interested in the study of philosophy. Now, in addition to getting people interested in the study of philosophy, and I'll do that by offering practical ways that you can use the knowledge that we are going to acquire together along this philosophical journey. But I will also let you all know that the study of philosophy is useful, it's rewarding, it's difficult, but in the end, you will hopefully see the world in a different light. Your life will have more meaning. You will know how to deal with problems and rewards, particularly problems, more effectively, and you will find a deeper, richer meaning for your life, and that's just awesome. So, the original inspiration for this new podcast creation, was because I studied 3 semesters of philosophy in university. Shout out to Professor Stoner at Assumption University. He was a Kantian philosophical scholar, I believe, and he went to Tulane University, studied philosophy and Immanuel Kant. And for all of you who do not know who Immanuel Kant is, he is this guy right here, and I have 2 of his works, A Critique of Pure Reason and Practical Philosophy. Now, I read parts of these works a while ago. I don't really remember them, so this is another reason why I decided to begin this new podcast. Now, in this podcast, we're going to be studying works by Immanuel Kant, by Remy Bragg, Wisdom of the World, by Walker Percy, Lost in the Cosmos, Francis Bacon. I don't know if this is philosophy officially, but we're going to cover this anyways. Sir Thomas More, Utopia, quite an important work, and The Prince and the Discourses by Machiavelli, and finally the question concerning technology. But before we get into all of this, we actually are going to begin with, for the sake of argument, how to do philosophy. Now, this is a very introductory, elementary book on philosophy, and it's essentially how to teach you how to do it, right? One of the big flaws that I see in modern day social interactions is people don't really understand or are not willing to put their feelings aside and to argue for the truth. They seem personally and identifiably attached to their ideas, and if anyone else decides to say, your idea is not true, your idea is wrong, your idea is not quite true, or I have a problem with this idea, it's essentially saying, you are not true, you are partially true, I have a problem with what you said, with what you are and who you are. So for example, right, if I believe in the Republican Party, and you know what, no, let's say I do not believe in abortion, let's say, because I think it's immoral and you are not giving a sentient being the chance to live. I'm not personally attached to that idea. I should not be personally attached to that idea. But if, let's say I were, if people were going to come at me and say, look, I think you're wrong, I think this and that, then I get personally attacked, and then name calling and so forth and so on, and the whole nine. You can use your imagination. So, in addition to all that I've just said, I also want to say that I would love to show the listeners that the study of philosophy is more than capable of positively influencing their lives and the lives of others. It definitely influenced me, and one of the most prominent ways that philosophy has positively affected my life is, well, for two main habits that I have acquired since my study of philosophy. Number one is I consistently question things, even published medical research, and I tend to look into the veracity of statements and truths and presuppositions and observations, and I really seek to understand from the ground up how anyone arrived at this conclusion, right? For example, why is it that the CDC and Dr. Fauci initially said that we do not need to use masks, but then ended up saying that we did? And why do we have a booster when a vaccine should likely work just fine, right? I seek to always understand in a deeper manner the ways in which we live, right? Number two is if I'm debating with someone or having a discussion with someone, I fully understand that I should not be emotionally attached to my idea, right? And that this idea should change and sharpen, and perhaps I can abandon this idea altogether if I have a conversation with someone and that person has better arguments for why I should believe in this particular idea as compared to this particular idea, right? And it's very interesting how I've acquired these two vastly important habits just from the study of philosophy, because philosophy, right? Philo, and if you think of pedophile or necrophilia, I'm sorry, those are two dark terms, but they have in common filio, and it's from the Greek word meaning love. So philo, Sophie, and Sophie, I think I forget the Greek, but it's love of wisdom. So Sophie is wisdom. So love, philo, wisdom, Sophie. And it's quite interesting. The love of wisdom began with, Socrates, Plato, all the way up until your modern philosophers like Alan Watts, who died in the 70s, I think. And so there's Socrates, and then there's pre-Socratic philosophy, and we'll get to all this, right? And so, again, I'd like to welcome you all to the Drew Cali's philosophy. Now, I'm pretty excited, and last thing is, I think I already mentioned this, but I'll mention it again. 10-minute episodes, going to cover a section or a chapter, or maybe two chapters if the chapters are short, of any of these philosophical works that I currently have, and my goal is to, actually, you know what, here we go, here's a outline. Okay, so I'm going to introduce a work, whether it's Kant's Pure Reason, Heidegger's The Question. I will divide the work up into sections that can be covered in 10 minutes without sacrificing the depth and breadth of the work. I will recite verbatim quotes that hold keys to fundamentally understanding important concepts the author is attempting to convey, and I will explain the quotes and concepts to the best of my ability. I will offer reasons why the listener should care about the above-mentioned information, and I will close with, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns? Feel free to contact me via social media, particularly Instagram. I use Instagram most often. So that'll be it for today, people, listeners. Stay beautiful, stay handsome, and stay productive, and I will talk to you all soon. I will be releasing episodes every day, except Saturday, Sunday, because I believe in weekends. And I wish all of you a great, happy, and productive day, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for tuning in.